Alright, so things that I have done. I added a minimap. As you can see, both players have. Let's just actually click back. As you can see, both players have the exact same icon at the moment. So I plan on changing it so that the icons get set by the client. So that each client will actually have a different icon. Obviously, this is the local multiplayer, so I actually have to change the way that code works. Because, well, I mean, I guess it would just be, setting the HUD ref. Because I think we set it for each individual player. So we both have different HUDs, right? No, we don't. I don't think we do. Ah, fuck, we don't. Okay. I need to figure out why that is the case then. Well, I guess that's something I'll figure out, but that also doesn't matter because I plan on deleting this player character BP. Uh, Obviously, I'm going to move not all of it, I'm going to move most of the code over to the new um, character BP, but I'm going to create a, like, parent BP that will actually have most of this code set up as functions. Obviously, the only ones I can't set up as functions are ones that use timeline, but there are ways to go about that. For instance, I could use a timer instead of a timeline, but I'll just kind of go, play it by ear, see what works, see what feels right, because I could also just make it a custom event so that I can still use the reload timer instead of having to create a time. I mean, I can use the reload timeline instead of having to create a timer for the reload function and whatnot. But yeah, so the reason that I need to do, or want to, and yeah, pretty much need to, is because the code I have right now would both not. So there's two things. First off, the way that I have it written at the moment, um, if I were to try and instead, if I were to try and use this code for multiplayer characters, it would suck ass. And obviously, if I just create a child out of this, it would be the exact same issue. Um, so I actually just need to rewrite the code entirely. Well, not entirely. I need to restructure the code, but I think it would be easier to just create a completely new blueprint from scratch and move over everything that's necessary, because I also think the amount of booleans I have is unnecessary. I believe I can probably get rid of probably half of the booleans I have. I thought I had more booleans than these. Okay, I can probably get rid of a good amount of these booleans. So yeah, I'm just gonna, get rid of the booleans, and or the ones that I can get rid of, I will, and I'll make them an enum instead. Because I think that will actually make processing better. Because, if you can get rid of if statements and switch it out for a switch statement instead of a if statement, that's always better, computationally speaking. So yeah, that's kind of the plan, is to rewrite this code and make it more functional. And I want to have a parent class that just has these functions available, but it doesn't have any of the things for actually, accessing them or calling them, So it won't have any of the code that calls the functions. And then I can create child classes of that FPS player character BP. And those classes are the ones that will have the codes, the functions in the code for actually calling the individual functions that I will add. So the only one that will probably carry over in its entirety is this one, although obviously that's not true since the mini-map got set for both players, but like, you know, the owning player. Oh, is that the issue? How do I set PC ref? Okay, yeah, I don't know. I, I don't understand. Yeah, we do add to player screen, target widget Z order. Adds the widget to the game's viewport and a section dedicated to the player. This is valuable for split screen. That's what I did. So obviously, this is pissing me off now. Everything else about the HUD is different. So why is the camera not? Oh, can there only be one texture? You gotta be shitting me. What I have to create... I might crash out right now. Am I gonna have to create 2 different textures? 4 textures, 4 unique, not textures, but materials? Actually, yeah, I would have to do, because I would have to change the render target. Son of a bitch. I think for local multiplayer, I would have to create a unique render target for each of them. Can I create a unique render target? Okay. Okay, this is a good sign. Now, can I create... I'm a fucking genius! Okay, problem solved. We will create a unique render target and set it that way, which also means I can now delete this. Which actually, that code should not run on event possessed. Well, it will run on event possessed, but we're going to set it up as a function. So the function will get called within event possessed based on the game mode that you're playing. That's the other thing. So originally I was only contemplating the possibility of deleting this character blueprint and starting a new, or, you know, creating a new character blueprint that I move some of this code over, but rewrite a good amount of it because of this right here. This is the reason that I was originally going, maybe I will, but then when I learned about how replication works and whatnot, I realized that I have to, because I did not code this to be replicatable. So yeah, that's a pain in my ass, but hey, it's, at least I caught it early instead of late. I mean, I caught it pretty damn late because I have so much coded already. But, like, it's not that big of a deal, especially since I had the foresight to make a good amount of things into functions, such as equip perks. I was all like, I don't even know why I turned this one into a function. I don't know why this is the one that I was like, you know what? I think I should start turning things into functions instead of what I've been doing, which is just custom event, custom event, custom event. Although, to be fair, most of these aren't custom events, they're enhanced input. See, this is one that I could have turned into a function, but I said, no, custom event. Same with this one, and that one. Event tick is event tick. This one, Well, actually, never mind. I could not have turned that into a function because that is a custom event. Yeah, that's fair. Okay, so there's only a couple custom events that I created that I could have made functions instead, but still, you get my point. There were easier ways of going about this that I ignored, except for the times that I didn't. But hey, it's at least not the biggest pain in the ass to fix all of this. But yeah, I pretty much can't do any multiplayer testing until I do fix this, because any multiplayer testing I do will be overshadowed by the fact that there's a lot of stuff not being shared between the clients, because it's not being sent to the server and it's not having the server told to update all of the clients, or the clients aren't being told to update the information by grabbing it from the server. So yeah, I just need to rewrite a lot of this code to change it. But besides that, not a big deal. It's just kind of annoying. Although there is a fair amount of stuff that is client-side only as well. So that's also kind of why it's not that big of a deal. For instance, aim assist would be client-side only. The pause menu would be client-side only, so I don't need to replicate any of this. Although now that I think about it, yeah, the set game pause part, I need to get rid of that. Or I need to make it where it's based off whatever game mode you're in. So only if you're in a single player game mode would you be allowed to do that, to set game paused. Sorry. Weapon switching would be one of the ones that I would indeed have to these two are the things that I would have to include on the multicast, which to explain multicast, pretty much you have two different things. These are going to be the main when you're creating events that get replicated, these are the two that you will always use pretty much. So you'll have your event, or more realistically, you'll have your function, uh, which, aim assist is not one that would be replicated, but just for, the purpose of explaining. You would have your function, and you actually almost always want to have the function just plug into multicast, so that pretty much this is saying that all clients, whenever this function gets called, every client connected to the server will run this function instead of only the client that called it. And then run on server is pretty much just saying that, oh yeah, we send the information to the server. So the only way that clients would know to run the multicast event is if it gets run on the server. And then it's the server that, so the way that it would work is you would have the client side event, which would be your not replicated event. And so everything connected to this is not replicated on anything. It's only ran on the client. So then, if we have a second custom event, which we will have, which will be your, run on server. So you would have your client side. So everything you want to have run only on the owning client would be connected to this. But then, after you've ran everything that you want to run solely on the client, you would then add in your you would then call the run on server event. So you would have a second version of this custom event that would be set to run on server. So you would do something like add custom event, dead server, and this one would be set to run on server. So now this would include all of the data that needs to be ran on the server. So if you have any data that needs to be ran on the server or that needs to be shared to the other clients, you would run it on the server end. So that way the server knows what information that way the clients can actually get the information that is necessary. So like if, for instance, we had a boolean or something that we wanted to set, you could run it on the server. That's actually not what you would want to do, because you would then have, after you ran everything that you want to on the server end, which realistically isn't going to be a lot, you then have the final thing. So then you would plug dead server into this version, which will be our dead. Let's call it multicast for simplicity. And this gets ran on every single client, including the original client. So if you have something that you want all of the clients to update, so let's say it's an animation, for instance, let's say you have an ADS animation. So you would then say, this would be set ADS to true, let's say. So then this will tell all the clients that the client that called this, the original client that called this multicast, let's call that client 3. So then the version of client 3 on all of the other clients connected to the server will have its data of ADS set to true, and then the version of client 3 on everybody else's computers will go through the animation blueprint, and it'll go like, oh, since ADSing is set to true, we now want to change the animation playing for the client 3 character on everybody else's screens to be doing the ADS animation. But this also gets ran on client 3's game. So pretty much if you, let's say this is your ADS custom event, this only gets ran on client 3's game. So if you were to plug in set to true, and let's say, we actually make this a flip-flop instead. So the first time it gets ran, it's set to true. The second time it gets ran, it gets set to false. And you would do the same thing here. You would copy and paste this code, because this is the only way that it will change the animations on all the other clients for client 3's character. Well, the problem that would then occur is the fact that on client 3's game, they ADS. But then the server tells all of the clients, including client 3, to ADS. Which actually, I guess this isn't an issue because of this. So instead, it would make well, yeah. I guess no matter what, this one's a non-issue. But you can see how calling it twice, calling the same function twice, could have negative consequences. I'm not 100% sure of. I can't think of any examples off the top of my head where there would be obvious. Well, actually, I guess right here, shooting. So imagine if for everybody else, client A or client 3 only shoots once, but for client 3, they shoot twice every time they shoot. That would be an issue that would occur if you ran the exact same code both on your not replicated custom event and on your multicast custom event. So that's why you want to only, most people will probably just run all of the code in multicast because it's easier to do that. It's safer, technically speaking, to do that. So you just have your non-replicated event is what you use to then pretty much update the server, and then update the multicast or, all of the other clients. So that's all it's good for. That's how a lot of people do it. So nothing else gets ran besides telling the server, hey, we want to run this event, so then the server can tell all the clients, hey, run this event, which is our multicast event. That's how most people do it, is they just have all of the code in multicast. But if you wanted to optimize, the performance of your game, it would actually be better to have some of the code only run on the main client and then only have the necessary code run on the other clients. For instance, shooting, all you would need to do is update that is, actually, yeah, I don't know how shooting would work because I know that the thing I'm using is already replicatable. EB barrel already has like replication and whatnot, so replicate shot fired events. Yeah, so this one already replicates, so I actually don't need to do anything with it, I don't think. I'll have to test it to make sure, but I'm pretty sure I don't have to replicate anything for it. It should just automatically replicate on clients. But ADSing, for instance, I would only run everything for up. So I would only run all of this code right here on the client, the main client, because all of this is unnecessary code for the other clients to run. So it's a bad idea to run this code on a multicast. But then this code, which is, or actually, this is also unnecessary for the multicast. So we'd actually want to reorder this, where it's a ADS offset would be back here instead. And then it would plug into sprint cancel, which sprint cancel is what would and then I guess the other thing would be we would change both of these. We would also move both of these to the back over here. And so sprint cancel and setting ADS offset, or not ADS offset, but setting ADS to either true or false, is something that we would instead run on the multicast, since these are necessary for updating the animation that is playing on the other clients. But all this other code is only necessary on our main client and not the other clients connected to the server. I'm sorry for yapping so much about code. I know that I yap too much about code and people really only want to know about what I've added and whatnot, but to me, the coding is the coolest part. And this is the other thing. I think by being able to explain, this is what I'm coding, this is what it does, this is how I can make it better, I feel like I'm then able to prove to anybody that stumbles upon this, and maybe if I decide to do a GoFundMe or something, or I open it up in early access for $10, having these videos would showcase that I'm not just some dude who is using like AI or some shit to code for me, but I actually know what I'm doing. I hope, at least. I hope that's how it comes off. So that's why I do a lot of this yapping. But actually, that's not true. That's an excuse. I really like talking about coding and code and explaining code and talking about how I can make my code better. I just enjoy it a lot. That's the real reason I talk about it. That's the real reason I go on these tangents. Anyways, I think I already talked about the grenades, I'm pretty sure, or, throwables. So yeah, I think I've talked about everything that I've added. Uh, Yeah, I don't think there's anything else to talk about. I'm probably forgetting stuff that I've added. Uh, but yeah, anyways, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.